The Tolkien Road, Episode 56, The Silmarillion, Chapter 23, of Tuor and the Fall of Gondolin. Alright, go ahead. The Tolkien Road, 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 the Tolk Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, a long walk through the works and philosophy of J.R.R. Tolkien. On this episode, we discuss the Silmarillion Chapter 23 of Tuor and the Fall of Gondolin. With the fall of Doriath in the last chapter, only Gondolin, among the great cities of the First Age, still stands. And this tale tells of her ruin and of the last hope for the free peoples of Beleriand. As usual, there's a lot to discuss. By the way, it would be awesome if you'd leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes. It's easy to do, only takes a moment, and would put a big smile on our faces. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Tolkien Road. John here. Greta, think you can pull yourself away from March Madness for long enough to do a Tolkien Road episode?
Nope.
Alright, well, I'll let you have it on in front of us, muted, while we record. So just FYI, if Greta seems a little distracted, it's because the madness of March, the mad Marchness has overtaken her.
The mad Marchness.
The mad Marchness. That's
yeah.
Right. It's madness.
What's not to love about March Madness, though? There's nothing else like it in the entire world.
Well, I'll tell you what's not to love. It's if you're one of the 63 teams that doesn't win the national championship.
No, that's not about, like, you gotta, like, it's about the journey, right?
No,
it's about the road.
I'm just saying, like, that's something that you probably don't love is the fact that your team doesn't win it, but, you know, you can still enjoy it.
Not everybody makes it in, so I think just making it in is something to be proud of. It's the experience, you know?
Yeah. Who'd you pick to win it all, Greta?
I bet you would never guess. The same team I've picked
I know
for
who
the
it
last
is.
5 years.
We're trying to have some, like, cheesy intro
me.
convo here.
Of course, I picked my Villanova Wildcats.
Okay. Villanova
Even
Wildcats.
though I know they're not going to win. They never do. They're probably going to win next round because that's usually
I picked
what
some
happens.
Wildcats of a different sort.
I know you did. We have the same championship
That's true.
teams, right?
Wildcat
championship game, except you picked the lesser of the two.
All right, we need to talk about Tolkien because this isn't a basketball podcast. I think we went over this last week, actually.
Oh, did you see
that?
That would have been awesome if that gone in.
Focus.
Okay,
you hear me?
focus. I'm focused.
Yeah, so...
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. I'm ready to rock. I bet our listeners are ready to rock, too.
Well, I'm sure they're all grooving along right now.
I can just see them all head bopping.
Yeah, people are probably looking at them as they listen to our podcast like, man, that person looks like he's listening to an awesome podcast right now. He must be listening to the Tolkien Road.
Yep.
Because they're just getting their groove on.
Absolutely. I think they're blasting it from their car and, like, the windows are rattling.
Just
and they're, like, just doing the best car seat dancing ever.
People in the car next to them are like, wow, they're cool.
Yeah, totally. I wish I could be like them.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah. All right. So some haiku. All right.
Haiku. Rock, paper, scissors.
You know, all right, here's the thing. We need to do quiet rock, paper, scissors because I feel like we blow out everybody's eardrums whenever we do it.
Oh, do we really?
Well, like, I don't know. It's weird because, you know, when I do post-production on these episodes, like, I look and it's like, you know, everything is, like, going along smoothly and then, like, you know, if you win, that's the end of the world, you know, because you're just like, yeah! And, like,
because I never win.
And like, this, you know, just spikes and, like, distorts and everything. And,
yikes, I'm sorry.
Well,
so
it's
you're
okay.
I need to keep it under wraps.
You're enthusiastic. That's all.
I'm enthusiastic. Okay, so we're going to whisper?
So, yeah,
is that what we're going to do?
Whisper rock, papers. And if you win, you have to be like, yes.
I have to do, like, a golf clap?
You have to do, like, a Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
All right, so we're
Are we ready?
We're gonna do rock, paper, scissors, Napoleon Dynamite style. All right.
Okay, let's do it.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh.
Yes.
Gosh, that was
There
the
we go.
worst rock, paper, scissors ever.
That was awesome. That was awesome, quiet rock, paper, scissors.
I'm so jazzed right now.
All right, you're going first.
Am I going first? Okay. All right, here's my haiku for the chapter we are discussing tonight. What is it? It's 26?
23.
Oh, 23, right. Okay. All right, here's my haiku. Once again, much loss, destruction, death is caused by one love triangle. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I'm starting to get a theme. I think Tolkien may have been into love triangles,
Hmm.
which I never would have expected, but I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Did you
That's
like
that's
my
very
haiku?
perceptive. Yeah, I did.
Thanks.
Did you like it? Were you proud of it?
I was actually very proud of it.
Good.
Considering that.
Why don't you read it again? Do a little victory lap for us.
Okay, I'd be happy to.
Okay. Make sure you read it loud though. I don't want us to get like
Oh.
the quiet thing is just for.
Oh,
rock,
see, you
paper,
got me in my
scissors.
quiet mode.
Yeah, because but I've heard people have said to me before Greta needs to speak louder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Just not when I'm doing rock, paper, scissors.
Well, you go from hi, I'm Greta, and this is my haiku to yeah.
So I
yelling
just
at the
need
top
to
of your
not
lungs.
have the extremes. I need to be kind of in the middle.
Yeah, you need to be
Okay.
nice and boring.
Boring. Got it.
Try being a little more boring
Okay.
for us, Greta.
All right. I'll try to be more monotone.
Okay.
Put our listeners to sleep. All right. Here's my haiku. Once again, much loss, destruction, death is caused by one love triangle. I saw
That's
you
real nice.
meditating on it, taking it in, soaking it up. The beauty and loveliness that is that awesome haiku.
That was real nice, Greta.
Thanks. Thanks, dude. I'm ready for yours now.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's do it.
The warnings of the Waterlord fall on deaf ears. Idril senses doom.
That's how you say that name. I was wondering.
I think that's how
I
you
was
say
saying it Eärendil.
Well, it's Idril. Right?
Oh, Idril. I was thinking of
Idril.
the kid.
Yeah.
Eärendil. Okay, Idril. Yes, you're right. That would be Idril.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking of Eärendil.
Oh, is that their kid?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I like the deaf ears.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are very welcome.
So guess what? We had a we had a new haiku contributor this week.
For real?
Yeah, and we also had Josh and Mary Grace both contribute. So I'm gonna do theirs first since they're the the old timers.
Absolutely.
And Josh did two, and I think we can fit all four of these in. So yeah.
Okay, let's do
so
it.
We'll do Josh's two, and then Mary Grace, and then we'll do I'll introduce our new haiku.
I feel like you're talking soft.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Are
okay.
you talking soft?
Sorry.
Okay.
We need to be like NPR here.
We kind of are.
Yeah.
We need to not do that.
Be like, let's have a very sober discussion about Tolkien. We need to stress the sobriety of this discussion.
Boring.
Yes.
Dang. I hope Villanova doesn't have to play Xavier at any point, but they probably will.
Yeah. Well. All right. Let's stop talking about basketball.
Oh, sorry.
Haiku.
Distracted. Okay.
It's a haiku foul.
Haiku foul. My bad. Let's
All right.
do
Here
a
goes
haiku.
Josh.
Let's
Josh's
do
first
it.
haiku.
Josh.
Lover of the sea, born half man and half of thee, sails toward the future.
Half man and half of thee.
Mm-hmm.
Hear it one more time.
Lover of the sea, born half man and half of thee, sails toward the future.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, now that I read it, I'm not really sure what the half of thee part is
I don't
all
either.
about.
But it rhymes.
It does. Yeah.
And I like it. It has a nice rhythm to it.
Yeah, it does. Well done.
Yeah.
Good job, Josh. We'll do another
As
one.
usual.
Maeglin, an elf akin to another, corrupted by a dark lord.
Nice.
Yes.
I had to go back and when I was reading it today, I was like, I know I've heard the name Maeglin before.
Maeglin.
Like I know we've talked about him. So I had to go back and read half of the chapter of Maeglin, so I could remember what happened.
Maeglin.
Maeglin.
Remember, A-E is like I. It's like
Oh,
AI.
right, Maeglin. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Can you read that one more time, too, please?
Maeglin, an elf, akin to another, corrupted by a dark lord.
Akin to another. I like it.
Yep.
Good job, Josh.
Nicely done, Josh.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks for doing it, too.
Yeah.
Here's Mary Grace's. Old age slowly comes. Tuor's heart has stirred again. The great waters call.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
That paints a very nice picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's very lovely.
Yeah.
Good
All
job,
right.
Mary Grace. Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Mary Grace. And then our new guy is, his name is Lars Workman. I think that's how you say his last name. Hopefully I got that right, Lars. Lars, I was telling you that I think a few episodes ago, if it wasn't the last one, it was a couple episodes before that, I think Josh had made reference to, in one of his haiku, to something we didn't really understand about Turin, and he made this reference to Turin's fate that we didn't really get.
Oh, right, about waiting somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And so Lars, within the past week, commented on that particular episode. So you can go there and see the comment. But he said, I think that Josh was alluding to this. And so he linked to this little story, which I guess is not mentioned in the Silmarillion. I think it's mentioned elsewhere. I don't want to go into the details of it. It's really cool. I actually didn't know this, but it's really cool, and it kind of addresses what Tolkien had intended for the ultimate fate of Turin to be. And I think after we're done with chapter 24, after we finish the Silmarillion, I think we'll talk about that briefly, just so we can do it. But if you've already read the Silmarillion and you want to find out what that reference was to, go back, find the comment. I think it was episode 54 or 55, and you can see what Lars linked to there. And educate yourself. So thanks for the tip, Lars. And then Lars also contributed a haiku.
Awesome.
So here's his haiku. Pulled into darkness, a glory not lost. Glorfindel returned to Middle-earth.
I like it.
Yeah, it was very nice.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, Glorfindel is briefly in this chapter.
Yes.
And
it's the golden flower, right?
Right. He's the this great warrior, who many songs are sung of his mighty deeds in the battle of the Fall of Gondolin.
Right.
But what's interesting is that Glorfindel, and I believe if we go back, and I didn't go back and double check this, but I think if we go back, he shows up in Lord of the Rings. And it's really weird because you think, he dies here, right? He dies in his little battle and he's buried.
Right.
But there's a whole, kind of interesting long footnote about how Glorfindel is both in the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, which we won't go into tonight. We'll probably come back because we're not too far away from getting back into Lord of the Rings, picking up with book 2, and we'll be talking about some of the stuff in Rivendell, and I think Glorfindel shows up there. So,
where is that footnote?
Well, it's not a footnote. I'm just saying it would be it's kind of a long, it's the explanation of how he shows up here and then in the Lord of the Rings, even though he seems to die here in the First Age.
Oh,
it's kind of a long explanation, a long discussion.
Saying. I see what you're saying.
So maybe we'll have to refer back to it then.
But how do you find out about it?
Because I looked it up.
Where did you find the information?
I like on Wikipedia.
Oh, so it's not in another...
There's this thing called Google.
No, I know. I was just wondering, is it in a letter from Tolkien or by Tolkien, or
I think it's in one of the History of Middle Earth works.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Well, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So Lars.
Yeah,
thank
Lars,
you.
Thank you.
And please
Thank
keep sending us haiku. So
yeah, most def.
Yeah, and others as well. Take a cue from from Lars, right? This certainly isn't just the Greta, John, Josh, and Mary Grace show. We want as many folks as possible to contribute ideas.
Yes,
so.
we would love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
get those
thank you, and thanks for listening.
Flowing.
And thanks for listening, Lars, and for interacting and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so that's our haiku.
That's our haiku segment.
That's our haiku segment. So let's talk about
chapter
23.
One, I think. Let's do it.
Let's talk about chapter 23. If you can,
let's do it.
You can peel your eyes away from March Madness, from Notre Dame making a comeback on Michigan here.
I think I picked an upset here. So.
Oh, did you?
I did.
All right.
Going with the Big Ten, baby. All right. So, chapter 23.
Mm-hmm. Tuor. Fall of Gondolin.
How is it? Tuor?
Tuor.
Tuor.
That's how I say it. I think that's the right way of saying it.
Tuor.
I don't think there's any guide, to pronunciation here that would help us.
That would make sense.
See
Tuor.
something else. I don't see a UO example. But usually, like, vowels are not run together when they come next to each other.
Right. Okay.
So,
got it.
Even when they are, it's because, like, that's kind of how it naturally rolls off the tongue, even if you try and pronounce them both. Like, you think about Maeglin, Maeglin would be how if you try to pronounce both the A and the E.
I see what you're saying. I see.
Right?
So Tuor.
Tuor.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I can deal with that. So Tuor is the son of Huor.
Huor. Remember, yeah.
Huor.
Huor. No, Huor.
What?
Huor.
Huor.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
You said Huor.
It rhymes with Tuor.
Right, but you were saying Huor. You see how you were putting, like, the Y in there?
So it's what?
You were pronouncing it like we say Indiana Hoosiers, right? But it's actually Huor. There's no Y sound in there, right?
Oh, I see. Huor.
Huor. Yeah.
There's an U.
Yes.
Not a Y.
You need to be very careful that we pronounce the U in there, okay? I'm just saying.
You're right, we do.
This is a clean rated podcast, all right?
Huor.
Yeah. Huor.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go on pause. We're going to take a quick commercial break while we pronounce this 30 times so that Greta gets it right.
All right, well, okay, so Tuor is the son of Huor. Who, like an owl who's. Huor, right?
Huor.
Okay, got it. Okay. So Tuor is the Tuor is the son of Huor. And the nephew of Hurin, right? Hurin. And when he is 16?
Hold on. Let's go look at the pronunciation guide because I want to make sure I'm getting this right before I try and act like I'm schooling you on it.
Okay.
Again, like I've said this from the start, I am not a language person, so please be merciful on me for my failure in pronouncing things sometimes. I started out thinking it was like Madros or Madros, and it's actually like Mithros, so my knowledge of the pronunciation of these names is developing hopefully towards the correct thing. But you are, in the note of pronunciation, says before a consonant or at the end of a word should not be pronounced as in English. So before a consonant, as in Eärendil, Círdan, Gorthong, or at the end of a word, as in Ainur, should not be pronounced as in English.
Out before we go
Fern,
on air.
Fur, Hurin. So maybe it's Hurin.
Okay, well, he's not even really in this chapter, so we.
No. I'm sorry. Hurin would be Hurin because he's got the accent mark on it.
Right.
Huor. I think we got it right. I think we're doing it right. If I'm wrong, somebody please tell me.
Yeah,
all right.
Please.
Yeah. And we'll correct it next time.
Huor. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy, Tuor, is kidnapped.
Yeah.
When he's 16. Right?
Right.
And he's basically held captive for 3 years by the Easterlings.
Yeah, by the Easterlings, right? They're
Right.
kind of the people that had, betrayed, betrayed the armies of the elves and of the Edain.
Right.
At the near Naiath Arnoidia, the battle of unnumbered tears.
Right. Yes.
And Tuor is he's the son of Huor.
Of Huor.
Remember, Huor and Turgon exchanged those words as things were kind of like going badly at the battle of unnumbered tears. And what was it he said? He said, from you and from me, like a new star shall arise.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. And that's what Huor said?
That is what Huor said to Turgon, right? Because
Okay.
Huor dies.
Right, okay, yes. I do remember that. So those were like his words of prophecy.
Right.
Got it. Okay. So Tuor's kidnapped, he's a slave for 3 years, and then he escapes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And he lives basically in solitude as an outlaw for
Right.
4 years. And then Ulmo basically kind of puts this desire in his heart
Mm-hmm.
to leave.
Yeah.
And so he does. He leaves the land of his fathers.
Yeah.
And he travels to where? Where does he go to?
He goes to
Dorloman.
yes, Dorloman.
And he
To
finds the gate of the
Noldor.
Noldor,
Mm-hmm.
right, which is where Turgon had lived.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So good old Ulmo. Good old Ulmo is seeking out Tuor, and he's, Ulmo, it seems like at this point is he's trying to get Turgon's attention,
Yes.
and be like, dude, you gotta listen to me. All right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he has not listened
Mm-hmm.
up to this point.
Yeah.
So he wants to use Tuor.
Yeah.
To get Turgon to listen.
And I love how Tuor, becomes enamored of the sea. It talks about him becoming enamored of the sea. He looks upon Belagair, the great sea, and he was enamored of it.
Yes.
But yeah, he's kind of given a mission, right?
Mm-hmm. Does he know that it's from Ulmo? He probably doesn't.
Well,
does he?
Up here at the top of 239, it says, "There came a great storm out of the west, and out of the storm Ulmo, the Lord of Waters, arose in majesty and spoke to Tuor as he stood beside the sea."
But when he started out, he probably didn't know it was Tuor. He didn't know it was Ulmo that was kind of prodding him.
Yeah, I don't think
along.
he did. I think it says he said it in his heart.
Yeah, so he just felt the pull
Right.
to go.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I think, how Nargothrond, Turgon and then Fenrod were inspired to found their respective cities, right? By Ulmo.
Yes.
It was kind of inspired in dreams for them to do so. But yeah, I mean, Ulmo basically presents himself in his full majesty to Tuor.
Right.
Right. Which is kind of a cool image to, imagine.
Yes.
To think about in your head,
Totally. But I was confused here because so he gets to the gate of the Noldor, right? And it says that he at length came to the deserted halls of Vinyamar.
Right.
And they're deserted.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not where Turgon lives.
No.
Where is Vinyamar?
Vinyamar, if you look at the map, Vinyamar is way over here on the shore of the sea, right? Up north.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's right there at where the in the very west of the land of Nevrost.
Okay. And Turgon is in Gondolin. Is that right?
Right. Turgon is in Gondolin, which is right here, right?
Oh, okay, so he has a ways to go still.
Circle. Oh, yeah.
He has quite a journey ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Yeah.
So why would Turgon have... So it says that he goes in and he finds this sword and shield, right? That Turgon had left.
Uh-huh.
Why would Turgon have left? Is that where he used to live? Before he found...
did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's where... Okay, before he founded Gondolin.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay.
Double check that.
Okay. So that's why he
called Turgon, dwelt at Vinyamar and Nevros before he departed in secret to Gondolin, where he ruled until his death in the sack of the city.
Okay, so he left this sword and shield there before he left. And that's what Tuor finds. Right? And so he picks it up and he takes it with him. Mm-hmm. And that's when this great storm, that you talked about came up, and where Ulmo, the Lord of the Waters, arose in majesty and spoke to Tuor as he stood beside the sea. And Ulmo bade him depart from that place and seek out the hidden kingdom of Gondolin. And he gave Tuor a great cloak, a mantle, to mantle him in shadow from the eyes of his enemies. So is this like an invisibility cloak? Like... kind of thing, or is it just more of a...
Well, I guess kind of like it. I don't know if Tolkien would just call it an invisibility cloak. I think it was more like what was going on with... let's find... So, hold on, let me see. He gave Tuor a great cloak to mantle him in shadow from the eyes of his enemies. He doesn't say much about how it works, so we don't really know. I kind of think of it, because Tolkien typically doesn't seem like he was, with no disrespect to like J.K. Rowling, right? And I like the Harry Potter books just fine, but I don't think this is like as clunky as the idea of just an invisibility cloak. You know what I'm saying? Like I think this is more like what was going on with Melion and being able to protect the region of Doriath for all that time, right? With whatever magic she had. And also like kind of what's going on with Gondolin, where it's just kind of hidden from the knowledge of Morgoth. So
I see. Okay.
Yeah. That's me. That's just me speculating. I don't have any reason other than just kind of a general, Tolkien nerd sense. Of how he'd envision that.
Got it. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
I appreciate your 2 cents.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I've got more pocket change where that came from.
Yeah, more where that came. Awesome. Okay, so then this next, he gets this cloak from Ulmo, right? And then the storm passes, and Tuor comes upon this elf hanging out by the walls of Vinyamar, and his name was... Varanwe, the son of...
Aranwe.
Aranwe of Gondolin, who sailed in the last ship that Turgon sent into the west. But so this guy was on the boat, heading to the west, but then there was a great storm. Right? And
so do you remember when he sent they sent the ships?
Vaguely.
Yeah, they sent the ships at the end. I think it was at the end of the chapter on Nirnaeth Arnoediad, and none of them were successful. They sent them into the west to try and find a way back to...
That's right.
To try and
find a way. Yes, that's right. That's right. None of them came back. That's right. Yes. Yeah. And so all of them perished except for this one, right? This one guy, Varanwe. It says that Ulmo took him up alone of all its mariners and cast him onto the land near Vinyamar. And learning of the command laid upon Tuor by the Lord of Waters, Varanwe was filled with wonder and did not refuse him his guidance to the hidden door of Gondolin. So it's like Ulmo's basically set him there, right? Like almost like as a chess piece, right? For Tuor, right? Like he needs a guide to Gondolin, right? It's curious to me. I'm wondering, and I don't know if this is really even that important or interesting, but... And I don't remember, maybe it's in the chapter and I just missed it, but I wonder why, out of all those elves, Ulmo picked Varanwe to guide him. Do you have any insight into that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just
I don't. I don't know that there's anything especially significant about Varanwe for that, but
because we haven't heard of him before, have we? Like he hasn't come up at all.
Here in the appendix, the index, it says Varanwe is the steadfast elf of Gondolin, the only mariner to survive from the 7 ships sent into the west after their Nirnaeth Arnoediad.
He doesn't come up before this.
Well, he's mentioned briefly at the end of that chapter.
Oh, right.
But nothing like too in depth about him.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
got it.
I think he's just kind of a lone survivor kind of guy.
Okay, okay. Who obviously has a purpose.
Yeah.
And his purpose is to lead Tuor to Gondolin.
Mm-hmm.
And so they begin their journey. And, excuse me, they...
Well, I found it really interesting that this little bit about as they were traveling back, they kind of go south a little. They're going east, but they go south a little bit too. And as they go down and they see the defilement wrought by Glaurung, the dragon.
Yes.
But even as they gazed upon it, they saw one going northward in haste, and he was a tall man clad in black and
what
bearing
was that
a black
about?
sword. But they knew not who he was, nor anything of what had befallen in the south, and he passed them by, and they said no word. I think it must be Turin they're talking about, right? I think this must be like an overlap with the story of Turin, these events. Because remember, Glaurung was doing all of that stuff in the story of Turin.
Right, that's right.
And the black sword, right?
Okay.
What was the sword called?
The one from the Dark Elf.
Yeah.
Yes.
When interestingly enough, that's the sword that was wrought by Eärendil, the father of Maeglin.
Oh yeah. Who plays in the story?
Gorthon, that's the name of the sword.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So, interesting little overlap.
I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, of two different stories going on right there.
That's cool. That's very cool.
We're never told explicitly, but I think that's what we're supposed to think from that.
Okay. Turin.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Nice insight, John.
Good.
Yeah. And so they, right after that, it says that they came to the hidden door of Gondolin, and they're taken.
Yep.
As prisoners.
They are indeed.
And they're led up the mighty ravine, and that's barred by 7 gates, and they're brought before. Who's this person?
Ecthelion.
Ecthelion.
Yeah.
Who's the warden of the Great Gate.
Right.
And that's where... So then it says, this is where Tuor cast aside his cloak.
Yeah.
And from the arms that he bore from Vinyamar, it was seen that he was, in truth, one sent by Ulmo.
Mm-hmm.
So there was obviously something identifying about this cloak, or the shield, or the sword, right?
Yeah, I mean the arms that he brought were recognizable to them, and so they knew that.
But the arms came from Vinyamar.
But Turgon had been there before, and so had a lot of the people of Gondolin.
Right, but this says that it made clear that he had been sent by Ulmo.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it about? How did they know Ulmo had sent him, though?
Good question.
That's what I'm wondering. There must have been something about the cloak.
Yeah, maybe they figured that no one else would have bothered going into Vinyamar or something like that. I don't. I mean, it says it was the arms. I don't know that it has anything to do with
Oh, that's
the cloak.
right. Well, it says that... Yeah, that's true. It does have to do with the arms.
And from the arms that he bore from Vinyamar, it was seen that he was in truth one sent by Ulmo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, once they figure out that it was Ulmo that sent him, they blow trumpets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they kind of...
they
welcome him.
Yeah. And we get to he comes before Turgon and he kind of delivers that message, right?
From Ulmo. Right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, he basically delivers Ulmo's message, right? Basically telling him, you need, shut this place up, right?
Yeah, you need
defend
to leave,
yourselves. Yeah.
Go south go south to where the rest of the elves have kind of built a refuge down by the sea, and your help will come from the west.
Right.
And Turgon, of course, doesn't want to hear it.
No thanks.
We're doing all right here.
I appreciate you coming, nice and props to Ulmo, and I think he's pretty cool, but I like it here.
Yeah.
And you can see why he would like it there. I mean, the way it describes the place, it sounds amazing.
Oh, it's glorious.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talk about it being, where does he say? He says, likens it to...
I don't know what you're going for. I just remember that it...
Oh, Gondolin, as beautiful as a memory of Elven Tirion. Remember Tirion, the city in
Valinor?
In Valinor.
That's right. Yeah.
So, it's a beautiful place, and
Right.
he kind of gives. There's two reasons that Tolkien mentions, right? He says Turgon was become proud, and Gondolin is beautiful as a memory of Elven Turion. So Turgon was proud and kind of proud of the work of the city, and he trusted still in its secret and impregnable strength, though even a Vala should gainsay it.
Yes.
And after the Nirnaeth Arnoediad, the people of the city desired never again to mingle in the woes of elves and men without, nor to return through dread and danger into the west. So they're kind of like isolationist, they're like, you know what? We're doing okay here. No one's bothering us. It's really beautiful here. And thanks, Ulmo, but we'll just, we'll take our chances.
Yeah.
We'll take our chances. That's the basic word.
Yep, it is. And it also mentions that Turgon became proud.
Yeah.
Right, so again, we see pride.
Yeah.
Kind of
and
problems.
And pride can have different degrees. I don't think it's like, it doesn't necessarily mean it was like this pride of like, how dare Ulmo speak to the great, it's not, this isn't necessarily a Fingolish pride.
Right. No, but it's...
Or a Feanorish pride. It could just be like kind of a pride in the work of one's own hands and a pride in that, well, we've done okay so far,
Right.
We don't really need your advice,
Right.
Or we don't, that's nice that you say that and we'll kind of consider it, but not really.
Right. And it does mention here that is it Maeglin?
Maeglin, yeah.
Maeglin, spoke against Tuor, Tuor's counsel. So Maeglin kind of encouraged Turgon in his refusal of Ulmo's advice.
Good point, yeah.
And so they, says the fear. Oh, I thought this was interesting. They were talking about. It also mentions that, as far as Turgon goes, that in the warning of the Vala, he heard again the words that were spoken before the departing Noldor on the coast of Arvernien long ago, and the fear of treason was awakened in Turgon's heart. So it sounds like there's a lot of reasons that Turgon is not wanting to leave. Yeah. He has lots of reservations, and so yes, they decide not to go. And it says here that and up till now, really, like, it's been working for them. It says Morgoth hasn't been able to find them, right?
Yeah.
His spies have been unsuccessful. So I feel that initially I was like, well, that's stupid, Turgon. You should listen. Like when a Valar tells you to do something, you should listen, right? But then, the more we talk about this and I read it, I was like, I can kind of understand. It's not a completely foolish decision.
Yeah.
What he's making. So anyway.
Yeah.
So they.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
And you can see a lot of not like criminals making this. Like you can see just like kind of normal people making a very similar decision, and
right.
Knowing the world around them and just saying, I think we'll be okay.
Right. They do block things up, right? I mean, they lock it up, and nobody leaves, nobody comes in.
Now they do hear about the fall of Nargothrond.
Right, yeah, they do hear about Nargothrond, right.
Which should be, kind of make them sit up and reconsider
it
again, I think.
Yeah, and that's the Thorondor, right, the eagles.
But they probably say to themselves, like, oh, Nargothrond, it's out there, in the middle of the open. We're here in, in the, encircling mountains where no one even knows we exist.
Right. So they don't listen to Ulmo. And Tuor's like, okay, fine. And he stays there.
Yeah.
And while he's there, it says that Tuor remained in Gondolin for its bliss and its beauty, and the wisdom of its people held him enthralled. And he became mighty in stature and mind, and learned deeply of the lore of the exiled elves.
Yeah.
And then he falls for Idril.
Yeah.
Who is Turgon's daughter.
Turgon's daughter, that's right. Yeah, so Tuor, he kind of makes himself a home. He's like, all right, well, I tried. And he just stays there, and nobody's allowed to leave anyway. Yeah. So he just kind of spends his time there, and Idril falls for him, and he falls for Idril, and Tuor is okay with it. Or, I'm sorry, Turgon's okay with it.
Yeah, he's actually, he throws a great feast and all that. And what we know from the chapter of Maeglin, the previous chapter we discussed, is that he also had a thing for Idril. Yeah. Right, but Idril didn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that this marriage doesn't make Maeglin too happy.
Yeah.
Right? So there's our love triangle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, to be sure, I think Maeglin and Idril were like, cousins. So.
Right. Yeah, they were. It says that it was forbidden, right, for elves to that were so closely related to marry.
Yeah, because Arvernien was Maeglin's mother, and that was Turgon's sister.
Right.
So Idril's like, dude, you're the sister son of my dad's sister.
Right. Yeah. So it would be inappropriate.
Like
Absolutely.
Trying to say it in Tolkienian terms.
Yes.
All right.
But Maeglin didn't see it that way, so he's very jealous.
So yes, little ominous hint. Maeglin's secret hatred grew ever greater.
Yes.
So it says there came to pass the second union of elves and men. So first was Beren and Luthien, and now we have Tuor and Idril.
Right.
And so I think that's probably a good stopping point or pausing point for a commercial break.
Yep, let's do it.
And so let's pause there, and we'll come back and finish the rest of the chapter.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Don't go away.
Stay tuned.
Hey, Tolkien Roadsters. What's shaking? Greta Carswell here, just getting my groove on to the Tolkien Haiku theme music. Man, that's an awesome song. You know what else is awesome? Feedback on the Tolkien Road on iTunes. Oh yeah, you heard me right. iTunes feedback is one of the best ways you can tell the world about your undying love for this podcast. Because it lets those knuckleheads at Apple know that the Tolkien Road is where it's at. I mean, come on. Why didn't they know that already? Am I right? So next time you're waiting in line to pick up some delicious tacos, surfing the World Wide Web, brushing up on a Tom Bombadil factoid, or keeping it real in whatever way you keep it real, pop on over to iTunes and let the human race know what you think about the Tolkien Road. We're all dying to know, for reals. Party on, y'all. And we're back.
Yes, we is.
Resuming our discussion of chapter 23 of Tuor and the Fall of Gondolin.
Mm-hmm.
And we just left off where Idril and Turgon were married.
Listening to NPR.
Yeah, it's not too
and
bad.
all Tolkien considered.
I don't know how people drive and listen to that, honestly.
Actually, I listen to
I know
NPR
you
a
do,
lot,
and I've been in cars where like other people listen to it too. I just don't know how they do it because I'm like nodding and I'm not even driving.
Because you prefer listening to heavy metal and gangster rap when you drive.
That's probably true. That's my secret's out.
Yeah.
Thanks for airing my dirty laundry all over our podcast episode. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, on to more blissful things.
Yes.
Tuor and Idril have just been married, and they have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
In that spring, and it's a boy, and his name is Eärendil. I
think it's. I always have trouble pronouncing this name actually. Eärendil I think is fine, but the umlaut over the two dots over the A I think makes you're supposed to pronounce it a little more deliberately.
Got it. Okay.
But let's just double check that.
Okay.
So, Eärendil. Where's the double?
The umlaut.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Here we go. At the end of words, E at the end of words is always pronounced as a distinct vowel, and in this position is written E with umlaut, always pronounced in the middle of words like Celeborn, Menegroth. Okay, well, that doesn't help me.
No. I say let's just do our best. Keep this moving.
All right, Eärendil. I think that's fine.
Eärendil.
I think it sounds best when you just kind of you pronounce the A, but you roll it a little bit. Eärendil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Eärendil.
I'll just say E-dude. Okay. But anyway, so this baby is born, and it says that he was of surpassing beauty. For a light was in his face as the light of heaven, and he had the beauty and the wisdom of the Eldar and the strength and hardihood of the men of old.
Mm-hmm.
And the sea spoke ever in his ear and heart, even as with Tuor, his father.
Nice looking boy.
Yeah, totally nice looking, and he loves the water, just like his daddy.
Yep.
So he's basically got the best genes from each of his parents. So he's like, yeah, he's pretty much the perfect kid.
By the way, let's call out the year. So it's first age 503. It says that, and that was 500 years and 3 since the coming of the Noldor to Middle Earth.
Right.
Right. So we're in the 503rd year of the first age.
Right. Okay.
Now.
Got it. So, yeah, and so things are so good in Gondolin at this point. But then it says that Morgoth figures out where they are.
Yeah, he kind of gets a sense of they must be here because of the cries of Huor.
Right.
Yeah.
So Huor unknowingly kind of betrays his nephew. Right. And,
which we read about in the last chapter, where he's knocking, trying to get let back in. Right.
Exactly. So that kind of gets him in the general vicinity. Mm-hmm. And then basically Morgoth can't stop thinking about it.
Right.
He's like, I've got to find this place. So he tries and he tries. Yeah, exactly.
And destroy it.
He keeps trying, but because of the eagles, he's not able. He still can't figure it out. But what's interesting, and I think somebody mentioned this in one of the haikus, maybe it was Josh, or I can't remember. But it says, but Idril, I'm not going to say her second name.
Celebrimbor.
Okay. Idril was wise and far-seeing, and her heart misgave her, and foreboding crept upon her spirit as a cloud. Therefore, in that time, she let prepare a secret way that should lead down from the city, and passing out beneath the surface of the plain, issue far beyond the walls, northward of Amangwarth. So basically, she gets a bad feeling. Mm-hmm. And she's like, we need a secret path out of here. Mm-hmm. Right? And it says only a few people knew of this, and one of the people that did not know of it was Maeglin.
Right.
So clearly, Idril doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
And so it says, then it talks a little bit about Maeglin. So they start building this secret escape route.
Yeah.
Right. And then it goes on this thing about.
I need to go press a button. Hold on. Keep going.
Yeah, do it.
Keep going.
Me? Keep going?
Keep talking.
I was going to ask you a question. Okay. And then it talks a little bit about how Maeglin was lost for a time when baby E was young. And they're not quite sure what happened to him, but it turns out that he was taken prisoner by the orcs, and he was brought to Angband. And while he was in Angband, he was basically brainwashed, persuaded by Morgoth. Huh? No, I figured it out.
Oh, okay.
My ramblings. I figured it out for myself.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks.
Way to ramble yourself into knowledge.
I know. So that was a Felix Culpa right there.
Yeah.
So I was talking about how Maeglin had been gone for a while, and they had he had been captured by orcs and taken to Angband. Mm-hmm. And while he was there, Morgoth basically said, he bribed him with things that were not even his to give. First of all, surprise, surprise, Morgoth and his evil treachery. Basically tells him, listen, you tell me where Gondolin is, right? And once I capture it, you will be Lord. Right,
Lord of Gondolin.
Lord of Gondolin as my vassal. Mm-hmm. Oh, and to make the pot even sweeter, he says, "Oh, and you can have Idril." Yeah. Right. So sounds like a good deal. Mm-hmm.
Or I can torture you to death here in Angband.
Right. Exactly. It's like, what do I want to choose? Yes.
Door number 1 or door number 2?
Right. Lordship and the girl I love, or death.
But at the same time, it's like, well, what would have been expected of him? I mean, yeah, he would have been expected to be a good elf, a good vassal to his king of the Turgon, and have just put up with the torture and never broken, right?
Right.
And it says he was strong, but he harbored this thing in his heart. He harbored this thing in his heart, and so when the opportunity came, he was like, well, that sounds a lot better than being tortured up here.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah. So his desire for power and
and you got to kind of feel. I mean, as much as you want to come down on Maeglin pretty hard here, you got to kind of feel for him a little bit because, the guy saw his own mother murdered by his father, right? And
yes.
And it always felt like a little bit of a weirdo because of that whole situation.
Yeah,
right?
He probably did. He probably
because his father was kind of a weirdo.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
I understand what you're saying.
Maeglin
have a little bit of sympathy for him.
Yeah, a little bit of sympathy for him.
Yeah.
I think not a whole lot, but it's not like he was just a completely rot. It's not like he was just bad for bad sake.
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I mean, he had a tough lot for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of he had a lot of issues.
Right.
To deal with. Nothing ever came easy for him.
Yeah. So he leads him right up there.
Yeah. So he shows him exactly where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And when the boy is 7 years old, it says that's when Morgoth is ready. He's finally got all of his evil minions ready to go, and he unleashes.
Well, and let me say this too. Maeglin, it says he abode in the halls of the king. After he came back, he abode in the halls of the king with smiling face and evil in his heart, while the darkness gathered ever deeper upon Idril. So, yeah, Maeglin's pretty rotten.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's pretty rotten.
Okay, so no sympathy.
Well, I mean, I just have a little sympathy for the fact that he was kind of born into rottenness, maybe.
Okay.
Because
he couldn't
of his
really
father.
help himself.
It
was in his genes. It was in his blood.
I don't know. I don't want to get too bogged down in the discussion of it right now, but it would be an interesting question to spend a little more time discussing and debating.
Yes.
Anyway. All right. So back to Morgoth.
Yeah. So, and so Morgoth attacks. And what I thought was really rotten about this is he I shouldn't have been surprised by it, but he basically waits, the night before a huge feast.
Mm-hmm.
When everybody's excited and happy and, they're outside and they're having a good time.
Well, that's what he always does.
I know, but it makes me mad. It's not cool. It's one thing to attack people, but to attack them and ruin their party, double whammy.
When would there be a better time?
There wouldn't be a better time, but it still makes me mad.
Well, okay, but think about it. You go
all
the way
you're
back.
Distracted, and
you go all the way back to chapter 1.
Yes.
At the beginning of days, when Morgoth threw down the lamp, or Melkor at that time threw down the lamps, and what were the Valar doing? Well, they were having a feast on the island of what was it? The island of Almarin, right? You go even to the destruction of the two trees, and what was going on? They were having a party, and no one was really paying attention to what was going on near the two trees.
Right. I get it. I understand why he does it, but it makes me mad.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, yeah, I mean, it should.
Yeah.
It's unjust, I tell you.
It is totally unjust and evil. So he attacks on the night of this great feast that they named the Gates of Summer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at night, right? And it doesn't go into a whole lot of detail about what happens during the battle, but it says that if you want to know more about what happened and the brave acts of the chieftains and Tuor and all those people, that you should read the Fall of Gondolin.
Mm-hmm.
Which is that like a lay or what is it?
I believe it's a lay. I should have looked that up. Yeah, it's definitely, you can find it somewhere, either in the History of Middle Earth. It may be in Unfinished Tales. But yeah, I didn't look that up before this. I
was just wondering.
Yeah.
But you can find out more about it. But it basically just gives the highlights in this chapter, and it basically says that Maeglin tries to kidnap Idril and the son.
Right.
But Tuor fights with him, and he basically throws him off a cliff.
Yep.
And he dies.
Mm-hmm.
So Maeglin is no more.
Yeah.
And then...
But Turgon also perishes.
Right, yes, Turgon does.
Yeah.
Yes,
so Turgon's
right.
gone, Maeglin is gone. It doesn't say much about it. It actually doesn't. I had to go back and double check and make sure Turgon had perished, because it just kind of says, "And mighty was its fall, and the fall of Turgon and its ruin."
Right.
So.
Yes. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure actually at the beginning, like when I first read that, if Turgon actually died, but then I realized that he had.
Yeah.
And so Tuor escapes through the that secret pathway that Idril had built. He and his son and Idril all escape, with a few others, mostly wounded and women and children. And Gondolin basically falls to ruin behind them.
Yep.
Right? Like it's burned and it's uninhabitable.
But they do escape. Some of them escape.
They do escape, and they're walking. They're going through kind of a dangerous place on their journey.
Yeah.
And they come across the orcs. The orcs attack, and it says that they would have, like, they basically would have all perished, except if Glorfindel, chief of the House of the Golden Flower of Gondolin, had not. So yeah, Glorfindel shows up, right? And then also Thorondor comes.
Thorondor the Eagle, yeah.
Thorondor the Eagle.
So Glorfindel is doing his best to ward off the attacks of the orcs and the Balrog.
So was he in Gondolin when it was attacked?
Glorfindel?
Yeah.
I think so.
So he escaped with them.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's helping get rid of the Balrog and the orcs. And then Thorondor basically comes in and saves the day.
Right. Well, and Glorfindel duels with the Balrog.
Right.
And both fall to ruin in the abyss.
That's right.
But the eagles recover Glorfindel's body.
Yes, and then they bury him in a mound of stones. And I thought it was beautiful what it says in it, where they buried him. A green turf came there, and yellow flowers bloomed upon it amid the barrenness of stone until the world was changed. What does that mean, until the world was changed?
Well, you'll find out. You'll find out at the end of the Silmarillion.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty cool. So he must have been pretty special.
Yeah.
Grass and flowers grew on his grave that was made of stone.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, well, he was. I mean, mighty warrior, valiant, courageous. It's pretty. It's pretty awesome for an elf. Who we think they're basically just in a way they're just men who are immortal, right? To do battle with like a great demon, which is what a Balrog is, right?
Yes.
Like, it's kind of like that picture we saw of, I think it was Fingolfin versus, Morgoth? Remember we looked at that picture a couple of chapters ago?
Oh, yeah. Was it Fingolfin?
Yeah, I think that was the Fall of Fingolfin.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Fingolfin... Well, you just remember that picture and how much larger Morgoth was compared to Fingolfin. So you can kind of think of the same thing with the Balrog. Because the Balrog, are something like corrupted Ainur, right? They're great spirits as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So
they escape. They eventually land in the land of willows. Non-Tothrin, which is by the sea, right?
Yeah.
Because it says because of
it's right. It's right. It's not quite to the sea. It's this little area down here.
Oh, okay.
Right. So they've kind of come down through Sirion, and they come to Non-Tothrin.
Right.
Yeah.
So they've come quite a long way. And it says that they end up in this land of willows. It says there they rested a while and were healed of their hurts and weariness, but their sorrow could not be healed. And they made a feast in memory of Gondolin, of the elves that had perished there, the maidens and the wives, and the warriors of the king, and for Glorfindel the beloved, many were the songs they sang. And so here, this is also where Tuor makes a song for his son. Yeah. Concerning the coming of Ulmo and the Lord of Waters.
Right. He basically tells them about, the same things that inspired him when he first, escaped at the beginning of this chapter, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's basically he's kind of relating to his son the words of Ulmo originally. Right.
Yes.
And Tuor is kind of saying, well, look at that. Old Ulmo was right.
Yeah.
He was right about everything.
Yep.
But it also awakens this love for the sea in Eärendil's heart. So.
Right. And so then they stay there for a little while, but then they travel even closer.
Yeah.
Right, then down to the sea.
They go all the way down to the mouth of Sirion, the Great River.
Right.
And that's where they meet up with different peoples, the refugees from Dorioth, and then the refugees of Círdan's people, and they all kind of join together down there.
Yep.
And Gil-galad, Eärendil Gil-galad, son of Fingon, was named High King of the Noldor in Middle-earth. Right. So he is the new High King now that Turgon is out of the picture.
Okay.
And just notably, Elwing will come up. Elwing, Dior's daughter, right? Elwing would be the granddaughter of Beren and Luthien.
Right. Yeah. So her people are there too.
Right.
Yes.
So you basically have, So she'll come up again in the next chapter. Just FYI.
Okay.
Yeah. So Morgoth at this point just is like, well, my work here is done. Done my job.
He doesn't even regret.
Yeah.
Losing the Silmaril.
Well,
it was worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He's like, this has been so much fun. All this, havoc that I've wreaked. This has just been so great. It's worth it that they got their hands on a Silmaril. And part of the reason he says that is because now they're just going to destroy themselves, right?
Right.
Because over this Silmaril, because it's the last thing they have. And says he was biding his time and waiting upon the working of oath and lie. Right, so he doesn't even bother with the Sons of Fëanor at this point. He's just like...
Yeah, he's like, they can have their stuff, right?
Yeah, they can have their stuff. They'll destroy themselves over this thing with their oath.
They don't need me to help them along. Right.
And all the while, the people down here in the Vale and Sirion are... in the mouth of Sirion are under the shadow of Ulmo's hand. They're dwelling ever nigh to the coast of Arvernien, under the shadow of Ulmo's hand, so he's kind of protecting them down there. This last kind of outpost of the free, people of Middle Earth down there.
That's right.
Valerion, at least.
Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to read this last little section. Do you want to read this last little paragraph about Ulmo and the going and pleading with the Valar?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And it is said that in that time Ulmo came to Valinor out of the deep waters and spoke there to the Valar of the need of the elves, and he called on them to forgive them and rescue them from the overmastering might of Morgoth, and win back the Silmarils, wherein alone now bloomed the light of the days of bliss, when the two trees still shone in Valinor. But Manwë moved not, and of the counsels of his heart, what tale shall tell? The wise have said that the hour was not yet come, and that only one speaking in person for the cause of both elves and men, pleading for pardon on their misdeeds and pity on their woes, might move the councils of the powers, and the oath of Fëanor perhaps even Manwë could not loose until it found its end, and the sons of Fëanor relinquished the Silmarils upon which they had laid their ruthless claim. For the light which lit the Silmarils the Valar themselves had made.
Yeah.
So Ulmo goes and asks the Valar to help the elves, right? Forgive them, bring them back into good graces. But it says Manwë didn't do anything about it, right?
Right, and I love that little bit, and of the counsels of Manwë's heart, what tale shall tell?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, I just kind of think of it like in, when I pray about something, when I, and I feel like I've had prayers answered before, but I've also had prayers that weren't answered, and it's like, and oftentimes about things that feel even more important, and it's like, why weren't my prayers answered? And what's taking so long?
Yes.
Are things really not bad enough to justify, to act?
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of how you feel here. It's like, man, all this, Morgoth is like, it's just at this point where he thinks he's won.
Yes.
He's crushed the children of Ilúvatar, and he's destroyed the two trees, and what does anybody even have anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And still Manwë is just kind of, even in Ulmo, for crying out loud, is like, guys, we need to help them.
Yeah.
And Manwë doesn't say anything. He doesn't even tell why he doesn't want to right now.
Yeah.
And it does say that the Oath of Fëanor, perhaps even Manwë, could not loose until it found its end, and the sons of Fëanor relinquished the Silmarils, upon which they had laid their ruthless claim.
So is that implying that even Manwë's hands were basically tied because of this oath of Fëanor?
I mean, that's the impression I get.
Yeah.
That they just, even for them, there was nothing they could do.
Right. Okay. Okay.
That this oath had gone kind of over even Manwë's head at that point when they took that oath. And until they relinquished the Silmarils, nothing could be done for them. So that's where we are.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then the chapter ends here with Tuor starting to feel his age. And the longing for the deeps of the sea grew even stronger. So he built a great ship. He named it Eärendil.
Yeah.
Eärendil.
I think that's what it is.
Which is Sea Wing. That's a beautiful name. And this I gotta admit, this did make me chuckle a little bit. Where it says, it was a beautiful mental picture. But it says that, and with Idril, he set sail into the sunset of the west, and came no more into any tale or song. I totally had like the whole like image of like a cowboy, like riding off into the sunset, like
right.
with his hat
off
on his
into the
horse.
sunset.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, but they were in a boat, so I saw them disappearing, right? Like,
yeah, I kind of wonder like why they got to go and like everybody else had to stay behind, and because I mean, what did Tuor do? That I mean, I guess just because maybe he was the messenger of Ulmo, and Ulmo was like, you tried. You gave it the old college try, so
right.
I'll give you a happy ending.
Yeah.
I won't make you suffer through what everybody else is going to have to suffer through.
Right. Yeah.
But it does say
because
he was alone of mortal men,
right?
was numbered among the elder race, and was joined with an Noldor whom he loved.
Yeah, so that's a pretty high honor.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because Tuor is a man.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because so this is the second joining of elves and men, the first being Beren and Luthien, right? And Luthien chose mortality, right? So she could be with Beren. And then this almost seems like the opposite, right? Where, I mean, Tuor didn't choose it, but he's granted, it sounds like he's granted immortality.
Right.
So that he could be with Idril. Right? So it's kind of the same idea, but it's flip-flopped.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
you're right.
Instead of mortality, they're getting immortality. And he's joined with the Noldor.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's the reverse of what happened with Beren and Luthien.
Yeah. Yeah. So he did something right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty great gift.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so that's the end of Tuor. It's the end of Gondolin. It's
the
end of Idril.
Now,
not quite the end of the Silmarillion yet, though.
Right, as you can see, chapter 24 is of the voyage of Eärendil and the War of Wrath. Right.
Ooh.
So Eärendil is now going to be in focus for the last chapter here.
Okay.
But yeah, so man, last chapter. Now,
hard to believe.
As much as I do want to press on and just finish that last chapter for next episode, we're going to do a special episode on because Good Friday this year, we're going to be recording on Good Friday, and Good Friday happens to fall on this year on what is normally the Feast of the Annunciation, and both of those dates carry important significance for the destruction of the One Ring.
Right.
So we're gonna do like kind of a special episode on that next week.
Sounds
and
great.
Then the episode after that, 2 weeks from this episode, it will be the last chapter of the Silmarillion.
Crazy sauce.
Yeah, and then you will be able to say to people that I'm a real Tolkien fan. I've read the Silmarillion.
I read the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
But that's not the end of this book, though, right? I mean,
no, it's not the end of this particular book, and we'll talk about. I don't know if we're going to go right into a Calabaith and cover that.
Okay.
Immediately, we'll see. We might wait a little bit for it, but yeah.
All right.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, sounds like a plan to me too.
Well, thank you all for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening, everyone.
Yeah, so go watch some basketball.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Bye, y'all.
Please remember to check out truemyths.org for show notes and plenty of other Tolkien goodness. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, would you please leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes? It's a great way to support the show and takes less than a minute. On the next episode, we'll have a special Good Friday edition, wherein we discuss the relationship between the Annunciation, the Crucifixion, and Frodo's quest to destroy Sauron's reign. We will then complete the Silmarillion with Chapter 24 2 weeks from today, on Episode 58. Thanks for listening, and until next time, the road goes ever on.